Hey, and welcome to another 2015 Skinslip Scavenger Hunt video. This is part 9. If you haven't been following along, there will be a link down below in the description to the original contest entry video, which has a link to Skinslip's channel, Skinslip's contest video, as well as the 10 subsequent video response entries to the contest and a playlist of all said, videos. But getting on with that, if you have been following along, you know what this means. This is part 9. So, in part 9, Skinslip was looking for a film where you like the music more than the movie itself. And for me, I picked Tron Legacy. Now, I thought for sure that I had the soundtrack, but I went looking and I couldn't find it. So either I do have the soundtrack and I put it somewhere, or I don't have the soundtrack even though I was planning on buying it. I don't know. It's hard to say, really. But the fact of the matter is, Tron has to be the only movie that I can think of. There's probably others, but I thought about it and I thought about it, and it's the only movie outside of, say, movies where the subject matter is music. It's the only film where I think the actual music from the film was advertised more than the film itself. And honestly, it's weird because I know a lot of people, like, the music was out there. Like, the music was out there before the movie, and people were like, oh my god, this is awesome. I'm going to see this movie because of the music. Yes, I do know people who specifically said that. They weren't into Tron, they're not Disney, not really their thing, but the music itself, they loved it so much they were willing to go see this movie just to see how it was used. And yeah, honestly, I don't know of any situation that was like that. I know a lot of people who have never seen the movie, never went to the movie, never rented the movie, have just never seen the movie, but they own the soundtrack. In fact, they went and bought the soundtrack day one. Now, this could be because the soundtrack was done by Daft Punk, right? But it's not like they haven't done. Well, their music's been used in other films. They have had stuff used and stuff. I mean, I think. I'm trying to think. I can't think of any movies, but I know it has been used. I know it. For sure. But this would mark, as far as I know, the first film where they did the score, right? And it's a good one. Like, it is awesome. Absolutely awesome. So if you're into Daft Punk, you probably already bought the soundtrack to Tron Legacy. If you didn't know, and you didn't because you didn't know they did the soundtrack, go out and get it if you're a Daft Punk fan. It is the movie, so much so that there is a scene in the film. They play a part in the film. They actually have roles in the film, playing DJs at essentially a club where it's literally just it's showcasing their songs. And not like old songs, like songs specifically made and used in this movie. So yeah, it's honestly, this is the biggest instance where I think the soundtrack truly is so far superior than the movie. That doesn't mean the movie is bad. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying soundtrack, out of 10 is an 11. If you like Daft Punk. If you don't, then it doesn't make a difference. And movie out of 10 is probably about 6.5-ish. But, let's review the movie itself. Came out in 2010. It is a sequel to the original film called Tron, which is I think a brilliant piece of film. Brilliant piece of story, and as well as visual style and special effects and just everything all around. It is just wow. So when it came to Tron Legacy, I was really looking forward to the film. I really wanted to see, you know, Tron, the future. Like, the thing about Tron is it takes place inside the computer world. It is a visual representation of computers. Similar to like Reboot, if you ever watched Reboot. And the thing about, you know, Tron, the first movie, is everything in there had, you know, it's a reason. And there was thought put into why things looked the way they did, why they acted the way they did, what they were doing, and such. You know, like, they had games in the film, and those games were video games. You know, so people could play these games, and they're playing. Here you go, here it is. You're playing against programs. I just love it. I just love the visual representation of a computer. So I was thinking, wow, we've come so far in computers. We've come so far in computer technology and movie making. I am so looking forward to see what their visual representation is of computers now. Enter Tron Legacy, directed by Joseph Kosinski, and essentially starring Jeff Bridges, who was in the original film. Bruce Boxleitner, who was also in the original film, and then Garrett Hedlund, who plays the son of, Jeff Bridges, and of course, like I said, Daft Punk. And let's see, who else is there? There was somebody else. I'm forgetting somebody else. Oh, right. There's a girl. Of course, there's always a girl. And that's Olivia Wilde playing Cora. Now, the director had never directed anything previously. So, there's kind of one strike. You don't. Honestly, I don't know who in their right mind gives a film like Tron Legacy to a first-time director. It blows my mind. I don't get it. I really don't get it. But they did. And I think it may just show other things that you may be wondering about. The writers. Essentially, the screenplay was done by Edward Kitsis and Adam Horowitz. Both of these have become, they're writers for Once Upon a Time. So they've moved on to the Disney, stuff. They essentially came from writing television. I think both of them wrote for Popular and Birds of Prey. No real film experience in terms of the writing. So, got that kind of going against them, right? What else is there? Oh yeah, there was two screenplays, two writers for the screenplay, like I just mentioned. And there were two others involved in writing the actual story itself. And essentially, the other two guys who were involved in writing the story, never written anything, really. One of them was actually an actor. So, in terms of writing and directing, this film is dying right off the bat, right? Still, not a bad movie, but it's got problems, right? So, we get to the actors. Jeff Bridges, Bruce Boxleitner, both are established actors, right? Jeff Bridges, you know him from like True Grit. You know him from he's the Big Lebowski, right? Like, come on. Yes, he did Ripped or R.I.P.D. But whatever. Everybody has their things. But yeah, I mean, the Fisher King. He was just putting. You got the Fisher King and the Big Lebowski. I'm sorry, he or even Blown Away too. Like, come on. The guy, he's a fantastic actor. Fantastic actor. He's a little spacey as far as I know, from what I've heard. I don't know him personally. I've never met him. But apparently he's a little bit new agey, I guess. A little far. He's out there, man. So I think there's a reason why he did so well with the Big Lebowski. Bruce Boxleitner, I mean, outside of the original Tron, which, you gotta love him. He John Sheridan from Babylon 5. Like, I mean, I love him. I love the guy. He's awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of Babylon 5, so it's no what. I mean, I'm a fan of him. I mean, I like the guy. He's done some bad stuff. I'm not gonna say he hasn't. I mean, but he was in the movie as Kenny Rogers as the gambler, and not everybody can say that. No, that is something to be proud of. In fact, he's so proud of it, he did it again with the sequel. But and then again. But if you like TV movies, he is your man. He has been in so many television movies. Double Jeopardy was a really good one. I think there's like 5 of the Gambler. I don't know. Maybe there's I don't know. They just kept going. I can't remember, and he's in all of them. In terms of recent films that you might know him from, he was in Contagion. I love the film. Gods and Generals. He didn't have a huge part, but he was in there. He was really good as one of the generals or lieutenant. I don't know. I don't know the military stuff. And then obviously he had Tron Legacy because he was reprising his role. It was a small role in there, but I think it was a very important role. And he does a lot of voice work now. Like he's got one of those voices. Like, it's really good voice. To the point where he actually does the voice of Tron for the show Tron Uprising. If you haven't seen it, all based around this stuff. So you got those two as the veterans, and you got Garrett Hedlund, who is he's a fresh face, right? He's done stuff though. He has done stuff. If you are a fan of the Troy, the film Troy, he was Patroclus. He was in Friday Night Lights. A lot of people love that movie. Aragon. I enjoyed Aragon, but because it's a series of books, I really was hoping, because it sort of ends with a non-ending, I kind of wanted more of those. What's the name of that? Name of the movie is done by the Coen brothers. Inside Llewyn Davis. Inside Llewyn Davis. I think it's, yeah. So he's in that as well, but he's not bad. Actually, I kind of dig him as the son of the Jeff Bridges character and such. He plays that really well as the sort of like the rebellious teenager whose father has left him and has to come to terms with that, only to find out, Daddy didn't really leave you. And then you got Olivia Wilde. You know what? I think a lot of people really like her. some people know her from, or originally took notice of her in The Girl Next Door and the OC, the television show The OC. And, you know, from there she went on, she played in Alpha Dog. I don't know if you know that movie. And she was in the Black Donnelly's television show for a bunch. And then she came into Tron. And then since then she's done a bunch of stuff you probably know. Cowboys and Aliens, In Time with Justin, or JT, whatever you want to call him. And all the time she's been on House, the television show House. Dr. Hadley. So she has really, she set out her career. She's doing really well, and she kind of plays this weird character in the movie, but I can't really fault her. See, there's no real faulting in the acting in this film. So where am I having the problems? Wow. I'm gonna say the problems come from the story, a little bit from the directing, though. I mean, the director's just making this, the story that the writers have put together and the producers want to make, and essentially the art directors, the art department. Really, now that I've told you a little bit about who's involved, that it's good, but there's problems. What's the movie about, right? Well, son of Jeff Bridges opens with him, and Daddy says, you know what, I gotta go to work. Well, Daddy never comes home. Fast forward to the future, son has grown up, and he's not really involved in the company, but he is the majority shareholder. He owns the company. And so he plays fun with them. It opens with them, and it's sort of like their new operating system. Picture Windows, right? Like, this is Bill Gates is at the board meeting, and he's like, we're gonna launch the new Windows platform. Everybody's like, oh, it's gonna be on news, and everybody's like, oh, this is the biggest thing because it's the platform's everywhere, right? And it's release day essentially, and it's gonna release at midnight, and to press a button. Well, the son goes in and he messes it up, and essentially he gives it away for free. And one of the lines in that board meeting is from, Bruce Boxletter's. He has a question. He says, what improvements have been made to this operating system over the previous one? To essentially, they say, well, we improved the box. Now, as weird as that is, that line is very, very important in order to make Tron work for me. And I'll explain later. So, kid gets told that, Bruce Boxletter's character got a page from his dad's arcade, which has been closed down, and in fact, that number's been disconnected for years. Eventually, son goes to investigate, turns it on, boom, open up, arcade powers on. There's problems with it. I'm not going to go into the problems with turning on a main power switch and everything turning on. I won't get into that, but so he eventually finds a secret work area where his dad was going, and what ends up happening is, through some laser of some sort, it digitally decompiles him and projects him into the computer network. And thus you're on the grid, which is inside the computer, the visual representation. And here it goes. It's the story. Very similar to the original story. You got the, master control type programs and such. In this one, Jeff Bridges' character decided that he needed help, so he, because he couldn't be there all the time, fiddling with this program thing. So he created a copy of himself essentially, and told him to, create the perfect whatever system. Now, obviously, this is all based off of the old old operating system, because the original Tron took place in the network for that company. And this one has to be something that's sort of off of that. As far as I can tell, this is off of the main system. It's maybe a copy of it that he's been working on and dealing with. And what ends up happening is I don't want to give too much away, but there are some bad, the control programs are in red. The, Tron-like programs, the good guys are in blue. Red's going after blue. Blues are, thrown into the games or immediately erased. And they have to play the games or die, get, erased. And essentially it's a matter of the son finding out his father is trapped inside this computer system, which is cool. It's, that as the story is fine. What's being told in the story is fine. I don't have a problem there. This is my problem. My problem is, in the amount of time that has gone by, you and I know the computers from the 80s and the computers from now, not the same thing. They don't do the same things. Well, they do the same things, but they don't do them the same way. There are so many changes, so many different things. The internet in general, the internet changed the way they work. Networking, all that kind of stuff. Very, very different. Yet, there would be some similarities. Your antivirus softwares and all that kind of stuff, you will still have some things that will be, should look like old stuff. They're looking for the old things, people who are still dealing with, trying to fool stuff with old software. But there's new stuff, so it's got to look new. New doesn't mean, oh, we made it, we get an extra little notch here and a notch here. Look, it's new. No, this looks like the same thing to me. The games. And here's the thing. Back then, when the first Tron came out, the games were what we played on the thing. I don't know if the makers of this movie have ever played any video games, because here they are playing the exact same video games from the first movie still, with slight changes. Now there's grids that move. That's it. That's like, come on. I was looking forward to seeing a brand, like how advanced computers would look. The visual representation would look now that, the computers have gone so far, and all I got was the same. I got the same. I didn't want to see the same. I mean, sure, things were kind of flashier and, a little bit more modern looking. The suits, the technology to do the suits was different, but it was still the same kind of stuff. That's where the film let me down, was the visual representation of new computer systems. I was looking for something creative, and what I got was, let's do what we did in the first movie, but we'll make it a little bit different. And that's why I knocked this movie down a peg. That's why I knock it down. I was expecting more. Other than that, I'm kind of okay with it. I enjoy it. I watch it. I remember when I first came out of the film the first time, I was like, what? What were they thinking? Even the music couldn't save it for me. And things like, I don't get this. Programs are going to a bar. Why are programs going to a bar? I get that you want to have this way to, do Daft Punk. I get that. But honestly, it felt like they were trying to recreate, like they'd watched The Matrix and thought that the Tron world was The Matrix, which it isn't. It isn't. It's not the same. It's not the same. It's not. Two different ideas, two different concepts. Similar, but different. And yeah, so I don't know. That's where it lost me in that sense. But, I've come to go with the fact that because, you know, they've said the operating system, we've never really updated it. It's the same as it always was. We just, you know, changed the box. Oh, we gave it a little tweak. Instead of a icon like this, we made it a little flashier. You know, it's a prettier, you know, similar to how, you know, a lot of the Windows systems upgrades were. Add that to the fact that, you know, it's probably not open to the World Wide Web. It is a closed system, because it must be separate from, you know, a main network, and it's in this lab. Because of that, I will go with it, and I will say, sure, whatever. This is based off of the program that was there, who didn't know any different from the time, and, you know, yeah, there's been no updates to it because, you know, the guy who was working on it has been trapped in the computer. So there's been no outside influence to this system. And because of that, I'm okay with it now. It works with the story, so I'm okay with it. But it wasn't what I wanted when I first saw this film. And that really bugged me. That really bugged me. Of course, it may seem like it still bugs me. It doesn't. I get it now. It's all good. I'm okay with it. I'll watch it for what it is. But yeah, definitely a movie where the soundtrack is better than the film. Tron Legacy. 3D wasn't very good either. Till next video, take care. Have a good one.